We've been doing, oh, Judy's here. Hi, Judy.
Hi, Judy. Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Good. Thanks for popping in. We were just saying it's so beautiful outside. I'm not sure how many people will join in, so we're glad to have you.
And I'm Christian, and I have my colleague Ian here. Judy, nice to make your acquaintance.
Oh, nice to meet you guys as well.
Very cool. We'll give it a couple more minutes, see if anyone else wants to hop in for the festivities.
They will be sad that they missed it. That's for sure.
We were just saying, Judy, we're recording this so that we can give it to people when they need it. So we'll have
That's
it.
great. That's
in
always
there.
helpful when you make that available.
Yeah.
It definitely comes in handy, that's for sure.
So Christian and Ian, Brenda and I have been teaching since I think July on how to invest using your self-directed IRA. And we gave we do once a month on Tuesday, the last Tuesday of the month. And so we did 3 introductory sessions. And then we did 2 sessions on real estate specific, and then 2 or 3 sessions on private money lending. And then Brenda's just wrapping up teaching 3 sessions on mortgage note investing.
That's where we're at so far.
Very cool. Yeah, I mean, the sky's the limit when it comes to self-directed IRAs, I will say that. So we've seen some pretty interesting ones in our time. I'm sure Ian's probably seen more than I have, but we've seen some very creative investments, to say the
I would
least.
love to hear something about that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see here. And you just let me know when, and we'll get things rolling. But I know you wanted to give it a couple more just to be safe.
Yeah, the mistake I made last year is I did a loan out. Well, I did $150,000 loan with 30,000. Brenda's taking pictures again. With 30,000 renovation budget, but I didn't charge Dutch interest. So I was going to charge the interest when he withdrew. Well, he never withdrew it. So there I was. I had 50,000 in my account sitting since December, not earning anything,
Oh no.
And I couldn't deploy the 30,000 because I had to reserve it for him in case he took it. And then there was 20,000 left. And so I'm looking for more ways to deploy the 20,000s now,
Yeah.
So
that's what we offer our co-lenders too. If they have those odd small balances, they can partner with us and we can deploy that capital for them.
Very cool. Oh yeah, it looks like it zoomed in on just the one.
I know, that.
I think is when you turned, I think it focused in on the only subject because you turned your head. I think that's what it was. It should automatically focus back out, I hope.
Yeah. But we always, are thinking about, when you're making an investment, you have to make sure that the fees that you're going to earn for that small balance are going to be higher than the fees you pay to have the investment.
Right.
So that's.
Just depends on who you're doing business with, to say the least. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Oh, okay.
Well, we can go ahead and get started if you want.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure thing. Let me hijack the screen here for just a second.
Okay.
Go. Do send request.
I'm trying to allow, it's being picky. There we go.
You're good. All right, so go. This one. Perfect. And let's do from beginning. Perfect. And I just want to make sure you can see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. All right, so there were a couple of different options to pick from when it came to what presentation I wanted to do. I figured the best one that would be relevant to what you do would be Ditching Wall Street, which a lot of people have been doing recently due to the volatility of the market. And we have seen a pretty big spike in alternative assets. Now, the big question people ask is, number one, what is a self-directed IRA? A lot of people don't know about it. It seems to be a very well-kept secret in this country, in all honesty. And a lot of people who do know about it think that it's, not worth it or it's difficult. A lot of the larger custodians like Fidelity or Charles Schwab, they'll straight up tell people, yeah, you can do that. We have these 3 buckets to choose from. And in reality, that's not true. There is a whole world of different investments that you can get into using self-directed IRAs. When you look at the concept of a self-directed IRA, it has many forms. It can be a traditional IRA. You can have your Roth IRAs, your SEP IRAs, your simple IRAs. There are a variety of different ones you can use, and obviously they have different tax advantages or tax benefits, as you want to call it. Some are tax-free, some are tax-deferred. There's just a variety of different ones. The biggest thing we like to highlight when it comes to these types of investments or these types of accounts is the type of flexibility and control that you have as an investor. You get to choose what you get into. So if you want to invest in real estate, you have your option, and you can bet your own as a passive custodian. We don't tell you where to invest. You tell us where you want to invest, and then we check everything out, make sure it's compliant, and then you're able to direct us on where you want to send your funds. With that flexibility outside of real estate, whether it's residential, multifamily, we've seen some people get into industrial. You also have other options like precious metals. You can get into cryptocurrencies. You can get into private placements, as we've seen. You can. It's anything is pretty much possible outside of anything that is federally illegal, like cannabis and things like that. Those are the things that we tend to try to stay away from. And then there are other restrictions that kind of play into self-directed IRAs, such as prohibited transactions, which we can kind of go into more in a little bit. When it comes to deciding on what you want to get into, it's totally up to you. You tell us what you think is best. Usually you want to make sure you're getting in with someone that you're comfortable with, which is why LNS Investments is so great. Brenda, Cindy, and I, we've had a really great relationship thus far. Great open channels of communication, full transparency. So that's something I always like to highlight when it comes to this kind of thing. Our role in the process is the other thing I wanted to highlight. When it comes to self-directed IRA custodians like Madison Trust, we, again, are a passive custodian. We don't tell you where to put your money. We basically are the vehicle that allows you to do this without having any type of like tax penalties or anything like that. A lot of misconceptions around investing with your retirement account is that people think that, hey, I'm going to have to take a tax hit to be able to invest in these things. I have to take a loan out or I have to take a distribution, which is not true. With us as the vehicle, it basically moves from your current custodian, whether it be Charles Schwab, Fidelity, you name them. You basically are just going to be moving whatever funds you want to move. It could be everything, it could be a portion. You move it directly into us using our transfer authorization. Once everything is moved in, you direct us on where it goes. And then from there, we'll see how the investment does. But 9 out of 10 times we see it go very well, or I should say 99% of the time, I usually see it go very well. I really haven't seen any major losses in our industry. Ian, I'll pass it over to you just in case I missed anything, and I can go to the next slide when you cue me.
Yeah, I mean, you hit everything on the head of the nail. So go ahead. Next.
All right, we'll move over and I'll let you hop into it a little bit here.
Yep. So these are a few sort of key assets that we see a lot of people invest in: real estate, precious metals, and then just about everything else under the sun that you could imagine. Like Cristian had mentioned, you can do private equity, you can do private lending, or that could be secured or unsecured types of promissory notes, cryptocurrencies, you name it. Really, it's possible as long as you follow a couple key rules. That's the main consideration. There's a couple rules that you need to keep in mind here, like not transacting with disqualified parties or personally benefiting from the investment. But as long as it's a true investment meant to benefit your IRA and grow the retirement account, it's fair game. We just need the supporting documents to make it happen. And so that's where we come into play. That's where the relationship with Madison Trust Company is really beneficial, where you tell us what to do, and then we say, okay, you want to do that? Let's do it. We just need X, Y, and Z documents. So if it's real estate, we need the purchase contract. If it's precious metals, we need it's the purchase agreement with a metals dealer. If it's a promissory note, we obviously need to see the promissory note itself and the security document that would go along with that. So it just depends on what you're trying to do, and that's why we're here is to help make sure, one, that you're compliant in providing necessary documents, making sure that they're filled out correctly, but also just trying to make the process go as smoothly as possible.
Perfect. All right, now, why would someone use a self-directed IRA to be able to invest into things? Some people say, I've got all these bags of money that I can use to invest in whatever I want. Why should I use a self-directed IRA? The biggest example I always like to highlight when it comes to using self-directed IRAs, there's a gentleman named Peter Thiel. Some people know the name, some people don't. The biggest thing I like to highlight with him is that back in 1999, he invested into a small company that no one had ever heard of, and maybe you've heard of it today. It's called PayPal. He took a $2,000 investment and placed it into PayPal back in 1999. He did that using a Roth IRA strategy. So he paid his taxes on his $2,000 when it went into the account. He then turned that $2,000 into an incredible $5 billion that is tax-free. The United States government is still trying to find a way to get taxes out of that, but it is ironclad. It is an incredible investment. And that's just one of the reasons, or one of the prime examples, I should say, people use self-directed IRAs to be able to invest into certain things. Now, there are other people who don't have these bags of money to invest into whatever they want to, but people do have retirement accounts that in some cases they've forgotten about, or they have retirement accounts that are just sitting there going up and down. And in today's market, unfortunately, it's more erratic than it's been in quite a while. So some people may find an amazing opportunity to invest in, but they say, I don't have the money to do it. That's where self-directed IRA comes in. Basically, Madison Trust Company, we basically allow you to unlock that capital that is sitting there that may not be doing as well as it could, gaining anywhere from, if you're having a good year, 4 to 7%. If you're having a bad year, less than that. You can get into alternative investments that will pay you 10%, 20%, 25%. If it's anything over 50%, you might want to bat an eye at it because it may seem a little too good to be true, but really the sky's the limit. And the Peter Thiel example is just one of the main ones I do like to highlight when it comes to why someone would use a self-directed IRA. Some of the clients I've worked with, I've seen some pretty interesting investments, whether it be marinas, vineyards, Arabian racehorses was one of them we saw. I just had someone who invested into a couple of racehorses about a month ago that are going to the Kentucky Derby. There is just so many different ways you can utilize your retirement funds and get a better return than the traditional stock market. And then one of the biggest points here, obviously we have them out on the board. You can control what goes on. You do have your tax advantages, which are tax-free or tax-deferred. You can diversify your portfolio outside of Wall Street, which is what this whole thing is about, is getting out of Wall Street and having a little bit more control over your retirement future. And move to the next slide here. And then we would like to kind of give a quick breakdown on how to get into this, because as a lot of people know, the people feel like self-directed IRAs are like a big scary monster and it's complicated and convoluted, and that's not necessarily the case, which is why my position as a strategic relations executive with Madison Trust exists, and Ian's position also exists. So just to kind of give a twofold system here on how we work together to help someone get started. As Brenda and Cindy know, I'm their direct point of contact when it comes to working with their organization. That way, if there's anything they need or their clients need, I'm the direct point of contact. There's no calling in to a random number, talking to a random person, waiting on hold and dealing with all kinds of crazy nonsense. We like to streamline the process and make it easy. So if you need something, you work with me directly. When it comes to clients, or in this case, your clients, they have a direct point of contact as well, which is someone like Ian, who is one of our account executives. He basically works with clients, helping them through the onboarding process to make sure the application process goes smoothly and everything goes according to plan. kind of wearing down that scary monster everyone thinks the self-directed IRA industry is. Once we get past Ian and then I'm in play, we do have a ton of different support staff that are able to help out with any of the little nitty gritty things that may need to get done, but that's why I exist. I can communicate with those teams to save people the trouble of having to wait on hold or so on and so forth. So when it comes to opening self-directed IRAs, I'll let you take over at this point, Ian.
Yeah, so when somebody's trying to get started here, I'm usually the first point of contact for them. To one, make sure that what they're trying to do is legitimate, that it can be done within a self-directed IRA, that it's not going to be a prohibited transaction or anything of concern like that. And once we've gone through that initial conversation, also making sure that the retirement funds are available. I've had conversations with people with a current employer 401k plan where those funds may be stuck, or a retirement annuity where those are a little bit more complicated to get the funds pulled out of. But in most cases, the funds are available. You find the investment that you want to make, and then we have a conversation. I guide you through what that process would look like. Step one here is going through our online application process. We're constantly striving to make that piece of the process as easy as possible. When I first started at Madison Trust, it was, many years ago now, believe it or not. Most people don't believe it by looking at my face, but many years ago, I started Madison Trust Company. We were only accepting paper applications. People were mailing in the applications. And so needless to say, the onboarding process took quite a while, especially if something was done wrong. So we moved it all online. We've now shifted it again into our client portal, always trying to make it easier and easier. We're still always welcoming feedback, trying to make things better, but it's a quick, easy online application to set up the self-directed IRA. Once that's done, we would then provide the proper next step. So immediately an account number is generated and provided to you, and you use that along with some other information that we provide for you to move the funds into the account, whether it's from another IRA or a 401k, or you're making a new contribution. All three of those have different ways of actually funding the account, different processes. And so we'd walk you through that and provide you with those next steps immediately so you can get started. And then once the funds are here and received, or even before they come over, while we're waiting for the funds to be received from the other organization, we start working on getting the investment paperwork in order, making sure that it's all filled out correctly with the proper titling, proper address, specific to the IRA and not to you as an individual. That's the most important piece of this, is that the IRA is the one investing. It's not you personally. And so as long as we've made that distinction and we've collected the supporting documents that go along with that, with your approval, we are good to fund the investment once the funds are available. And hopefully the rest is smooth sailing from there. We're in the background handling the annual IRS reporting that goes along with the account. So our relationship continues, even though there's less activity, usually ongoing, unless other investment opportunities come along, or you have recurring returns, or whatever the case may be. We're here to provide support ongoing from there.
Awesome. Perfect. Now, the next slide is the most important slide. I can't stress this enough. It is our contact information. So if anyone has any interest in what we're talking about, even if it's just general questions, our contact information is there to be able to get started. Or if you just want to do a little bit of fact finding, we're here to answer questions as well. Anything we can do to help our great alliance and I would say friendship, if that's okay to say, Cindy and Brenda, just because we've been working together for a little bit now and we've had pretty great interactions. And I look forward to seeing, where everything takes us. But I'm very happy with how things have been. We've had a great working relationship, and I'm very happy that you chose Madison Trust to be part of what you're trying to do and help people just better themselves overall. It really is great. I know that we wanted to do a little bit of a Q&A. So by all means, if there's any questions or concerns, we'll try to field them as best we can.
Can you explain to the audience and for those that listened later on the Zoom how you are working with us to make their lives easier. If
Absolutely.
they're going to be a private money lender working with us, what can they expect from that?
So to make it as easy as possible, we've already gone ahead and created some custom resources in order to make that process as seamless as possible. So let's say someone does come to you and say, hey, we would like to, get invested with NLS investments. I think that would be really great. Basically, because of I would say this, the relationship that we've built, any of the people who come to us from NLS investments immediately do not have to pay the application fee. They don't have to pay the first investment fee. It's all covered with the custom application link we've provided for you. That making it easy, anything that someone wants to do with you is automatically tied directly to NLS investment. With other custodians, it is a little bit more of a difficult process because you have to figure out this piece of information, provide this, go to this person and that person between the different organizations, and it gets a little tedious and a little bit more, I don't want to say annoying, but we'll just say tedious is the word I'll use. So because of the relationship that we've already built, and pretty much we have anything that you need already preset and we have the familiarization done, it just makes it as easy as 1, 2, 3, open, fund, and invest. And we handle all the back paperwork and all that stuff. There are some things that I always like to highlight when it comes to the relationships I've formed with different organizations. This may sound a little cheesy, but I do like the white glove approach. If something is not clear, feel free to reach out to me or Ian, whoever is available. Typically me, I'm usually available. Ian has his hands full by helping out people on board. I hear him all day, talking, making sure people are taken care of. But that's why I exist, to be able to handle any of the extra overflow that comes our way. But also, I'm really just the white gloves that try to handle the investment and the process to make it very, very simple for everybody.
That is so important because this is a new investment for people, and especially if they're not in the finance space already. And, maybe they've never done anything like this before. So it's really great to have somebody to hold their hand.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I personally appreciate it when someone holds my hand with something I'm not familiar with, whether it be self-directed IRAs or, skydiving. Hold my hand,
Please
and
hold
just
my
make
hand.
it easy for me. So
Yeah. And I can attest that you have done that. So we've had a co-lender come through that didn't know what was what. And you guys were great to take him by the hand and lead him through the process. And now he successfully deployed his capital into a deal and is getting payments back in, and was quite happy with the arrangement. So thank you for that.
yeah, of course, it's our pleasure. Let's see, I just want to make sure we don't shut anybody out. Any questions? Let me see. Judy, any questions from you? I just want to make sure we're not ignoring you.
Sorry, I have to keep you on mute because of barking dogs.
I know the struggle.
I mean, I really don't. I've not ever used a trust company before. My investments currently are tied up with Wall Street. But I am intrigued and I am interested. So I guess maybe just one very simple question for clarification. So Cindy and Brenda, if an opportunity comes up that piques my interest and I have funds that I want to put in, I would go through Madison Trust. Is that correct?
Well, it depends,
the
Judy.
account?
It depends. Do you want to invest in an IRA, self-directed IRA, HSA, in a qualified account, or do you want to do this with your capital out of your bank account outside of a qualified plan?
Okay,
do
so
either.
then there are options.
You can do it either way or both ways. You
Okay.
can.
And then the only other thing that I was questioning was, I am actually in the process of doing some conversions from IRA, traditional IRA to Roth IRA. So of course, taxes, the big picture, we've really had to be very strategic in staying in the same tax bracket. If I was interested in developing a relationship with Madison Trust and wanted to put funds into an account, and let's say a Roth IRA, I would obviously have to include that in the whole overall strategic picture, correct?
Yeah, so Ian, I think you probably would be able to answer this one a little bit better than me when it comes to the conversions.
Yeah, so Judy, it really depends on what exactly you want to utilize this for. In other words, some clients, they have both traditional and Roth as they start converting things over strategically. And people sometimes would rather bring over the Roth portion and leave the traditional where it is. And so in that case, you'd set up a self-directed Roth IRA here if that's what you wanted to do. If you wanted to bring over, say, the traditional only, you could do that as well. And if you wanted to do a conversion within the account, so say you bring over the traditional IRA, we can help you in the conversion process. However, you and your accountant determine would make the most sense, how much to convert, when to convert, all of that. You tell us when, and we can assist you in converting from traditional to Roth within this structure.
Very interesting. And then just one other quick question. I mean, I have my allegiance to NLS, of course. But I'm kind of curious about the precious metals. Are those deals that I need to find myself, or are those, is that something that you all have access to?
So with precious metals, it is probably like the only investment that I can think of off the top of my head where you don't have to go out shopping around for it. So we have an exclusive relationship with Fidelitrade for purchasing the metals. We used to leave it up to you. We found that was a bad idea from some bad seeds in the industry. So we exclusively work with Fidelitrade, and so those options are available to you. You just have to determine, do you want gold? Do you want silver? How much do you want to buy of each, or of one over the other? And so you determine that. You tell us what to do still, but it is more limited, and there are specific options available for you to choose from.
Appreciate the information. Thank you.
And Judy, to your point, we teach in NLS how to invest in different things, and we have plans to teach a class on precious metals. So
Oh,
we
that's
teach
great.
people to invest in passive way. That's what we like people to see people to do, invest passively, and that includes many alternative things.
What is the minimum amount that you can buy in precious metals? Because that could be a good way to grow a small balance account.
Yeah, no, absolutely, it can be. And the one consideration is fees, of course. So there's no minimum amount, but there is an annual storage fee for the precious metals of $100 per year. So that's like an additional consideration, an additional fee that would be incurred, because we're not just holding the paper interest in the precious metals. This is real gold or real silver being held in a facility. And so that's another consideration, but there is no minimum.
I need to move some over.
Yeah, me too. I wish I had some to move, but very good. Excuse me. Yeah, we've seen a pretty decent amount. A point to what Ian was saying, we only associate ourselves with reputable companies and organizations, which is what he mentioned. There was a lot of issues when it comes to precious metals. There's a lot of scams out there. We've seen it where people have approached us saying, "Hey, we have this deal." We have had a great relationship with Fidelitrade. We've never had any issues with them, so that's why we only tend to align ourselves with great organizations. That also includes NLS Investments, just for the record, so we're clear.
Oh, well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, we have another savvy investor in the group. Christy Andrews is here. Christy, do you have any questions?
No, when I do have one, and when you're investing in the IRA, is there anything that triggers where you have to pay taxes annually when you invest in when you invest in real estate?
So
Yeah, I'll let you feel that one. Go ahead. Yeah.
sure. So the only time where there could be tax implications with real estate is if you're borrowing within your IRA to purchase the real estate. If you're lending to somebody else that's buying real estate, tax implications are not a concern annually. But if you're buying a piece of real estate with your IRA and you need to borrow some money from somebody else to do so, there could be tax implications. A lot of times that's offset or avoided altogether through your standard real estate tax advantages. But that's really a conversation to have with your accountant. And it's usually not at play too much, but it could be in theory. So just for consideration, but most times, 9 times out of 10, there's no concerns there with taxes.
To add something onto that, if you do run into some kind of tax implication when it comes to the investment into real estate, that just means you're doing really well and you're making a lot of money. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. So if you are getting taxed on those particular, we'll call it returns, it's not bad. Usually you're going to be way more ahead of in terms of your investment and your what's it called? You're going to have more upside than you are downside. I think that's the best way I would say it.
All right, thanks.
Of course. Hold on, let me go back to the last slide just to leave that there just in case I missed that.
I have more questions. I always have questions.
No, well, that's why we have the QR codes there. If anything comes up that wasn't part of this meeting or you didn't think of in time, feel free to reach out to us and we'll be more than happy to assist with any extra questions that come up. Some of the big questions that we do get is kind of some of the things I already covered is, am I going to have to pay, a distribution tax, or am I going to get charged for taking money out? And it's a no on that, just because we're the vehicle that allows you to move that money. That's probably the most common question we get. And then the other part of it would be just the level of difficulty some things can be, which is why we exist in order to make things easy. So those are the main questions I think Ian and I get is how hard is this going to be? Or the big one for the big skeptics are, what's the catch? This sounds too good to be true. In reality, it's just a very well kept secret. Before I worked for Madison Trust, I did not know that this was an option. Like, I had no idea. And since working for Madison Trust, I've actually created my own account and I have my own investments that I'm in, and I'm making far more on those investments than I could have ever hoped to in a normal 401k plan that I had with my previous employer. So the sky is the limit. That's what I always tell people when it comes to these types of alternative investments. And be creative. Why not?
Be in charge of your own future instead of putting it in somebody else's hands.
Exactly.
Can you give us some samples of things to invest in with small balances?
Let's see. When it comes to small balances, if we're talking somewhere in the neighborhood of, like, let's say $10,000, $20,000, I do see a lot of people kind of get into like REITs, REIT. It's basically just giving money to, a company to invest into real estate for you, and they just pay it out. It's not as lucrative because it is smaller amounts, but I mean, that's probably one of the most common things that I see when it comes to smaller balances. And then there are some people that tend to dole into like cryptocurrencies with smaller balances. They tend to dip into cryptocurrencies that are a little bit more explosive and volatile, but that's something that I've seen. I don't see it too often, but I've seen it here and there. Someone wants to get into, Ethereum or Bitcoin. I've even seen coins that are called "this coin will do nothing" coin, and it takes off and people get out of it. But there's really a variety of different things you can get into. And like Ian mentioned, there's no minimum when it comes to, the precious metals and things like that. And luckily, with the fees that are there, they're not too drastic, but there's a couple of different options you can get into. Different funds have different minimums. So I've seen everything from a $5,000 minimum investment all the way up to a $1.5, $2 million investment. There's a wide array of different things out there. When it comes to the amount of retirement money that exists out there, there's $44 trillion in retirement money out there that's, for the majority, not really being utilized. So that's why our company exists. We've been doing this for well over a decade, and we're proud to say that, we have been a self-built company. We've been scaling tremendously every year. And for companies like yours, NLS Investments, we help companies like yours. Just last year alone, we helped raise close to $250 million, which just basically helps everyone involved, really.
Right.
So we're just very happy to be part of it. And the biggest takeaway I always like to give people when it comes to Madison Trust is Madison Trust is one of those companies that is very big, not only in investing into their clients, but investing into their employees. And I think Ian will agree with me on this one, that I've never worked for a company that has treated me as well and respects me as a person, not a number on a spreadsheet, as Madison Trust. Because we are happy employees, we have happy clients, which leads to happy relationships and lucrative relationships. So happy rich people, I think, is how I like to kind of break it down. But we are very big on making sure the relationships we have are maintained, our clients are taken care of, and as well as our employees. That's, I think, the biggest takeaway I would give if someone were to ask about us here at Madison Trust.
I'm gonna ask you to kind of give a description of a checkbook IRA and how it differs from the other type of IRA that you offer.
Sure. So with checkbook IRAs, that basically is like a checkbook controlled IRA account. There are the different styles you can have, but the main point I would kind of highlight when it comes to the checkbook IRAs is you would want to have that type of account if you're going to have a very transaction heavy type of investment. So with that being said, a prime example of it would be something like buying a residential real estate. My father-in-law, for example, he has several homes that he rents out during the summer months, and one of them, if he were to use a self-directed IRA, he would be able to pay landscapers. He'd be able to pay any maintenance that needs to be done, anything he needs for the rental properties, whether it be furniture, the utility bills. There's a variety of different things. So rather than having a traditional account, like a custodial account with Madison Trust, the IRA LLC basically gives you full control over where the money goes. With that being said, though, you want to make sure that you're making sure you're compliant with what you're sending money out to. So you want to make sure you keep track of your records, making sure that nothing is a self-dealing transaction. You can't write a check to yourself because that would be considered a prohibited transaction. But you just want to make sure you stay within the confines. And if you run into a situation which you're not 100% sure on, we can give you a rough idea as to what may be allowed, what may not be allowed. Again, we're not professional, CPAs. We're not tax attorneys. We are in the industry, so we do know a little bit about a lot. But at the end of the day, we can give you a rough idea as to should this be allowed, should this not be allowed. But when you're in real doubt, we always say, confirm it's called confirm everything with a CPA, just to make sure you're compliant. You're not dealing with anything you don't want to have to have disqualify the account or cause a prohibited transaction. But we're here to help no matter which way you go.
Okay, very good.
Do you have any other questions, Brenda?
No, thank you so much for all the information and being a partner with NLS and supporting us as
Of
we
course.
help our co-lenders grow their balances.
Absolutely. And if there's anything anyone needs, whether it just be a little bit of intro material on how self-directed IRAs work, or if you're just curious about us in general as a company, whatever it may be, feel free to reach out. We're happy to send you any information you may want. And I know I sound salesy when I say it, but free of charge when it comes to the information. So we're more than happy to help.
And if you're going to work with us at NLS, we have a special link to direct you to Madison so that they know that you're with us and you'll get the special treatment.
Mhm.
Yes. And the special discounts. Yes.
Yes, discounts. We love discounts.
All
Oh, I
right.
love discounts too. I love couponing personally, but
Yeah.
Nice. Learning more and more about you, Cristian.
I know. Well, hopefully as the relationship continues, we continue to learn more about each other. But
Hey,
Yeah.
being frugal, that's a good thing.
oh yeah, definitely. King Frugal over here, that's for sure.
And thank you, Christy and Judy, for coming. Appreciate that.
Thanks for putting on the call. We appreciate it.
Right. Well, y'all have a great week. I hope you have some great weather to enjoy. And we'll see you again soon, hopefully.
So thanks for having us on. It was a real treat. And we'll talk to you soon.
Okay, bye, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Take care.
Thanks.
Bye.